A lot of us enjoy reading stories with the main character that is involved in nobility, royalty, or kingdom building stories one way or another, so I try to assemble a list that helps you guys find exactly this kind of stories. Also, some of these stories can be categorized as reincarnation or Isekai manga too. So without any further ado, let's open the box. Number 10. Adventure Record of Reincarnated Aristocrat. So, after being stabbed to death, the MC is reincarnated in a prestigious noble family. When he turns 5 years old, he meets the gods who reveal to him the truth behind his rebirth. This one is a typical Isekai manga with an OP MC that is unrivaled. It's clear how it was inspired from many stories such as The Man Picked by the Gods and a lot more. But it might be because of this that it's a story for chilling, not to be taken seriously. The story isn't that special too. The gods grant the MC blessings and request him to develop this fantasy world with his knowledge from his previous life. He also joins the Adventurers Guild and builds his own social status on his journey. And the rest is obvious, I guess. Well, it's not totally just that. As the chapters advance, we discover some secrets that also relate to his parents from Earth. The events and how they take place also get better over time. You might like it just I did, but surely not for the story or characters that are the embodiment of cliché. Instead, maybe just for its mood and good art style. Or you just want a manga with an OP MC and cute characters. This is the type of stories I read when I want to turn off my brain. Number 9. Noble Reincarnation. The story throws us right away at the new beginning of the newly reborn MC as the 13th prince of a great empire. Soon enough, he and the others notice that he has super affinity to water element, and thus celebrate the birth of a genius. And when he was only 6, 2 of his older brothers come and give him a demon sword of water because he has high water aptitude, even though they know that the sword killed more than 100 people before bringing it to their little brother. Talk about brotherhood, eh? Even though when the MC is a 6-year-old, I bet you would salute him for being such a Chad that exceeds people's expectations and takes care of his own people, yet mercilessly uproots the problems and doesn't leave any chance for them to arise again. We still don't know much about his past life, but sure as hell his new life is more interesting. He also has an ability that makes him stronger the more subordinates he has. I would say the story is quite generic and fast-paced, and there are a few points that make you question how reasonable the events occurring are. It's all about the path of a genius prince to greatness. The artwork fits the attempt of looking cool from the artist, the characters are shallow and there isn't much to anticipate about their development, as they can be stagnant or just evolve abruptly. Nonetheless, it's a fun read with the typical OPMC. Number 8. Reincarnated as an aristocrat with an appraisal skill. Just like every Isekai manga out there, the MC is a salaryman who one day gets a heart attack and dies on the spot, only to wake up in a different world as a baby in an aristocratic family. Only in 3 years, he masters and familiarizes himself with the new world's language and culture. As an Isekai protagonist, he gets the appraisal skill that allows him to evaluate others in terms of stats, and thus acquires great talents as subordinates. What makes his ability OP is that he can discover talents in people that they themselves don't know about. For instance, he can come across a homeless young man whose stats potential is the highest yet to be seen in this new world. Being afraid of the gloom future that awaits the empire his territory is a part of, the MC starts his journey of collecting and nourishing manpower for the coming day when he is the lord and needs to protect his family and territory. The story is somewhat cliché but performed quite nicely. If anything, it's just the question of where the heck is his mother keeps bothering me throughout the story. The characters stick in your mind since they are special and aren't just names without souls, and the art is passable even though some might be annoyed by it, especially how the MC is drawn. Give it a shot. Number 7. The Demon King of the Frontier Life. So, the story begins with the hero arrives at the room where the Demon King resides. What happens next is the classical haha, I the OP bad guy will be your opponent, making us wait for the great battle to start between the two. Well, that is until we know that the Demon Lord isn't but a lord who's been protecting the village that the supposed hero lives in for many generations as the deity protector. Yet, after an epidemic spreads in the world, malignant people with authority put the blame for that on the guardian deity of the village that survived through the disease because of their immortal lord. They also try to accuse the villagers of being under the influence of the demon lord's black magic. As a countermeasure, the guardian deity who loves the village as home and its residents as family sacrifices himself to save the village. After his death, the lord, or the MC, reincarnates in a barony on the countryside. His major goal now is to blend among humans using his human body that will eventually stop aging. But first, he needs to discover the mysteries of the world and era he woke up in. The story is pretty much slow as it is to be read for chilling, and thus there isn't much action to be expected. The artwork is nice and suits the vibes of the story, while the characters are generic as a fantasy world characters. Maybe read it when you're tired of too much action. Number 6. Am I actually the strongest? After he got reincarnated in a royal family, his crazy parents get rid of him after they figure out that his magical power is only 2, while they were expecting something like 40 or 50. On the day he gets thrown into a forest to die, he faces a great wolf that threatens his life, but he uses his magic, which is supposed to be useless, to subjugate the great wolf that recognizes the MC as a master afterwards, hinting for the main character's great magic power that couldn't be detected by normal devices. Soon after, the MC and the humanoid wolf lady meet a noble who came for the baby that was thrown into the forest to take him in. And just like that, the MC grows in a noble family without his real parents, the king and queen, knowing of his existence. The MC has the ability of creating barriers, but he develops it in a way that basically allows him to do pretty much everything. He only wants to live peacefully and be lazy as much as possible, so he carries his missions in secret. He creates a clone to do work for him and sometimes acts like a superhero we all know. But he also has a cold side that he rarely shows when those close to him are in danger. The story isn't to be taken seriously as it is just for chilling, but the lazy OPMC makes it fun when he takes action. There are some side characters that are adorable and others who provide some fan service, but there are also some annoying ones. The cherry on top is the good artwork. Try it out. Number 5. My death flags show no sign of ending. One day, the MC finds himself in the body of the most hateful villain from a game he is addicted to. As an heir of a noble family, he starts solving the problems he finds himself in with his knowledge of the game, and becomes determined to avoid the death that awaits the villain whose body he has taken. He familiarizes himself with magic and swordplay to grow stronger, as combat is essential for his survival in this fantasy world. He tries to take a different path, even if that means changing the course of events he knows from the game. However, he still considers keeping things as they are when it is decisive to the fate of the original protagonist of the game. He also intends to help the protagonist from the shadows. Well, things don't go always like he desires, which spices things up sometimes. The story is decent considering how the events are actually organized and well written. The characters are three-dimensional, but the main character himself is the best, especially how he is forced to talk like a villain. The art is acceptable too, so you might want to check it out. Number 4. The unsuccessfully yet academically unparalleled sage. The story begins with the MC being nominated as one of the 4 emperors of magic who aided the hero in defeating the Demon King. After years, the MC discovers that he has no magic compatibility, which has been the reason that he couldn't compete with his companions who were young geniuses. And just like that, the shock and illness kill him at old age. Well, that's when his hidden skill, reincarnation, activates and allows him to meet a higher being, who, after a short discussion, reincarnates the MC into the body of a 4-year-old that is from the lineage of the past MC himself. Not long after, the MC realizes that he has been born with the powers he had in his previous life, even though he still has no magic compatibility. Being talentless like his mother, he is casted away, but he learns the sword at the hands of his gentle older brother, who is a legitimate son of the Duke. In a world where magic has been severely degraded from how it was before, the MC with his monstrous powers at a very young age is already OP. But wouldn't it be interesting seeing how he learns swordsmanship and goes with magic even beyond his past life? His personality is wholesome and his appreciation of others is wonderful, but he is a demon to his enemies. The artwork is quite good too, so try it out. Number 3. Different World Foundation. After an accident that leads him to death, the MC wakes up in a kid's body in a fantasy world, to only meet a griffin who's known as a fierce legendary creature that rules a great forest. After a short conversation, the griffin asks the MC to take care of some human kids who were abandoned in the forest for some reason, which shows the goodness of the griffin. And just like that, the MC starts looking after the kids and becomes their leader. He teaches them agriculture while rebuilding a destroyed small village, raising cattle and learning how to hunt. He protects the kids even if it means killing others, and just like that, the days go by while he teaches them different skills. We also discover that the MC has a blessing which makes him stronger when more people recognize him as their leader, and this is before the blessing evolves, allowing him to be a good vessel for a king, which leads me to why I decided to put this story in this box. Using his power, knowledge, and the connections he's formed in this world, the MC relatively quickly climbs his way up in social classes before he becomes a king. The story is well paced and well written, as there are few isekai manga with a decent story and clear world building like this. The characters feel three-dimensional and their interactions with each other are enjoyable. The art is not that good, but all that has been mentioned covers for that. Many would binge reading this one. Number 2. The Eminence in Shadow. The MC in this story is basically a maniac who devotes his life to training in all sorts of martial arts so that he becomes the Eminence in Shadow, someone who wields superior power and controls things from behind the curtains. Yet his dream has been destined to never be recognized because of the harsh reality of being only a biological organism that is bound by certain limits. Therefore, the MC decides to go on a journey, searching for the last hope, magic. After he tries every way possible and still fails, a light emits in the darkness, calling for him. Yes, it is the light of Traken, and just like that, the MC really reincarnates in another world in a small noble family. He comes up with a fake story about a demon cult to bring others under him to power up an organization he creates, but little does he know that the story he comes up with is actually somehow true. Comedy in this story is real, the characters are what makes it even funnier, and the plot itself is interesting and engaging. The MC is OP, but he is obsessed with acting as a mob character to hide his powers, and that makes it feel rewarding seeing him act like a badass in the shadows. And yeah, him being a chuny is gold. This one is definitely a refresher for an isekai. Number 1. Isekai Tensei Sodoki. After getting two souls reincarnated in his body, the young boy from a noble family grew to be an interesting figure with eccentric characteristics that he inherits from the other two souls, which belong to a high schooler in modern Japan and an experienced warrior from old Japan. The MC trains with his crazy mother and builds his own business, till the time comes when he is forced to enroll into a school of knights in the capital. He builds more connections and makes some friends that will later on accompany him on his journey to greatness. The comedy is really good as it flows from the personalities of the characters without feeling like it's forced, and this is one of the reasons, to be honest, to read this manga. Moreover, the story is nice even though you can see clearly where it's going at first. However, you get the hang of it as the world building continues. The fights are engaging and cool even though the artwork isn't that good. The MC is quite knowledgeable and powerful thanks to his other two souls. He gets even stronger over time and ranks up in social status, and more than that, just his weird personality is enough for you to like him. Try it out. Well, I hope you guys found something to read, and as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more videos like this one, so I can say my favorite word in the world. See you again when opening another box.